Hey guys, welcome to Series World. Today I'm going to explain a psychological thriller series called You from 2018. Turn on subtitles and spoilers ahead. The third episode opens with Joe and Beck walking and chatting while he's dropping her off at her house. They talk about their favorite movies. Beck asks Joe about his past relationship, but Joe thinks it's too early to talk about it, and Beck understands. After dropping her off at the house, Joe posts another post from Benji's account. He goes back to the bookstore to take care of Benji's body. Instead of searching on Google, he takes the help of books to figure out ways to dispose of it. But at the last moment, Joe backs off and starts vomiting. He turns down the temperature and sets a humidifier in the room to preserve the body and keep the books in good condition too. The scene cuts to Beck, and she's going to meet the new professor she's working under. She gets a little surprised when she sees that there is another assistant who is closer to her age and a woman. Blythe introduces herself, and Beck tells her how she's a fan of her work and even tweeted one too. Blythe smiles, but it doesn't seem genuine. She tells Beck how she moved around a lot because her father worked for the government. She can also speak multiple languages. The scene cuts to nighttime, and Beck is with her friends at the bar. Peach doesn't like what she hears about Blythe, but Beck argues that Blythe is very talented. They then switch the topic and start talking about intimate topics. Meanwhile, Joe is right behind them, listening to everything. Beck tells her friends how she's getting with other men behind Joe's back. She's still not sure about Joe. That night, she finds another man from the bar and takes him home. Joe watches them making love through her window. The next day, Joe decides today he'll take care of Benji's body. So he sends Paco to buy a few supplies for him. Meanwhile, Beck is in a reading session with Professor Mott, Blythe, and the other students. The student named Yuri reads his poem, and Blythe starts criticizing him. Professor Mott joins her too. After that, she reminds Blythe and Beck to read their poems the next day. Beck comes back home and sits on her laptop to write, but she's not in the mood. Her bed is making creaking sounds and she's pissed. Joe, who was watching her, sends her a text asking whether she'd like to go shopping, which Beck agrees to. Joe takes out Mr. Mooney's fancy car to pick Beck up. Inside the store, Beck keeps wandering around instead of looking at beds. She finally starts looking at them but is confused about what size she should get. Joe comments that she should get a queen size because a king wouldn't fit in her room. Beck is confused, but Joe explains that no one's room is big enough to fit a king-size bed in New York. Beck understands. She tells him how Blythe has already submitted her story, and she didn't even start writing hers. Moreover, Blythe's works are amazing. Joe is skeptical, but after reading Blythe's story, he agrees with Beck. They then lie down on the bed, and Joe gives her a little motivation. The scene cuts to them making love in a corner of the store. Joe wanted to do a little more, but Beck pushes him away as some people were coming towards them. By the time Beck chooses a bed, there was a little tension going on between them. While Joe is packing Beck's bed on top of his car, he gets a call from Ethan. He tells him that the power is out in the bookstore, and the technician needs to go to the basement to fix things. Joe screams no at the phone and tells them to wait. After dropping Beck off, he goes back to the bookstore, takes out Benji's body, and puts it in his trunk. While he's doing so, Beck texts him asking for help to set up the bed. After setting up the bed, they have some drinks. Beck tells him sorry for how she reacted in the store. She was just really anxious after reading Blythe's story. Plus, she really likes Joe, so she doesn't want him to think that she's that kind of person. Joe understands now. Beck further tells him that she thinks she doesn't have any talent to write something like that. Joe tells her it's not true and asks her to tell him the most memorable thing in her life. Beck starts telling him about her dad. He was an addict, but there were good days that they enjoyed. He used to make pancakes with this red ladle that he had, and everyone would gather around for the pancakes. Joe now understands that Benji was wrong about the red ladle. It's not her kink. Instead, she just wants to feel safe and loved. Beck gets closer, and they start kissing. While they're in the middle of kissing, Peach starts knocking on Beck's door. She seems disappointed seeing Joe there, but tells Beck that she needs to take her to the ER because she's in a lot of pain. Beck asks Joe whether he'll drive them to the ER. He agrees, but because there's a lot of traffic on the road, Peach gets pissed off and gets out of the car. Beck also follows her. Joe goes back to his apartment to get the supplies to take care of the body, but sees that the police are waiting for him in front of the apartment complex. Ron has reported Joe for the shopping list. Joe doesn't act nervous at all and instead suggests he show the officers what he was going to do with these supplies. He takes them to the back of the house and shows his little garden. It looks reasonable to the officers. Moreover, Ron's behavior towards Paco makes them more suspicious of Ron than Joe. Joe also gives them little hints of how abusive Ron is towards Paco. Ron gets angry and leaves with the officers. In the evening, Joe goes out into the woods to take care of Benji's body. Meanwhile, Peach is now feeling okay after taking meds, so they're getting ready to leave when Beck asks Peach what she thinks about Joe. Peach thinks his financial condition is not good, so she should dump him. Beck gets a little upset and leaves. Meanwhile, Joe is trying to light Benji's body on fire when he sees two people coming towards him. While he's in this situation, Beck also starts calling him. Joe freaks out but takes the call anyway. But because he's so nervous, he gets angry at Beck and turns down her request to meet her at her house, saying she's giving mixed signals. Plus, she's avoiding writing by using her friends as an excuse. Beck gets upset too, and Joe cuts the call. By the time the two people come up to him, Joe manages to light Benji's body on fire. The two strangers think it's a bonfire and don't say much. They tell him to enjoy his evening and leave. But Joe thinks he has already ruined his relationship with Beck over a single phone call. The next day, Joe is seen reading books to the little children in the bookstore. He's regretting what happened the previous night. Meanwhile, Beck has gone to the literature meeting. But because she was going through so much, she wasn't able to write properly and only wrote a single page in her notebook. Professor Mott tells her that they won't be able to critique her with only this. So, they decide to hold her literature review at a later date. The scene changes to Joe, who's working at the bookstore when he notices Beck walking around the bookstore. Beck also notices him and comes up to him. She tells him that he was right about what he said about her. She was giving mixed signals because she doesn't know who she is. Plus, she's using any excuse she can to not write because she's afraid that she might be the worst writer in history. But she also doesn't know anything about Joe other than the fact that he's a nice guy who is trying to motivate her. She doesn't know his friends, where he lives, anything actually. Joe asks her to come with him as he'll show her exactly what he is. He takes her to the basement and shows all the old books. He explains how these books are more alive and important to him than most humans. He can show her his apartment anytime she wants. But this place right here is what describes him the most. Beck is impressed, and she holds his hand. The scene cuts to Beck telling Peach how she has deleted her Tinder account and thinks Joe is the one for her. Peach is not happy about it but pretends to be happy for her. She then tells Beck how one book from her library is missing, and coincidentally, Joe was looking at this book at the party. The scene cuts to Joe and Beck, who has invited him to come to her house tonight. He's really excited and is getting out of the apartment when he notices Paco sitting in front of his door. He tells him he's sorry for getting him in trouble. Joe tells him it's not his fault, and people like Ron like to bully people. While they're talking, Ron arrives there and tells Paco to get inside the house. After Paco leaves, he starts threatening Joe to stay away from Paco. Joe keeps his calm and ignores him because Beck has sent him a spicy photo of herself. Joe arrives at Beck's house with ingredients to make pancakes, but Beck opens the door naked, only wearing her red bra. She pulls him towards her and locks the door. They go to the bed straight away. But unfortunately, Joe doesn't last as long as he thought he would. That's where today's episode ends. To watch more explanations of these kinds of series, click on the videos on your screen, and don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. And at last, thanks for watching.